I'm Ziad Baran, Publishing Director at Sage, social science publisher. And I recognise there are a lot, this is the Academy of Social Science, and there's lots of learner societies represented here. Recently, David Willits in your department has been talking about, through the Finch Group, about how the release of ideas into the community might help SMEs and so on. It'd be good to hear your own position on those kind of developments too. And hence, since we know the Finch report will be coming out today or tomorrow.
Sorry, you're...
Vince, this is about the open access for journals and for publications coming out of
Yeah, no, that's
universities.
very much the direction we're moving in. We are trying to create open access. I mean, under my department, for example, we have bodies like the Ordnance Survey, the Met Office, and they are very much side into this open access principle, quite apart from universities. I mean, it isn't entirely simple, as you implied in your question, because copyright is quite important in creative industries, which include publishing. It's quite an important part of British exports, and we don't want to undermine legitimate copyright. But we do recognise that the way that copyright applies at the moment is inhibiting academics doing data mining, is inhibiting research. And one of the very strong conclusions that came out of the Hargreaves review that I set up is that we've got to liberalise that system and move towards much more open access, and we're very committed to doing that.
John Cullen, University of Sheffield, also representing the British Accounting and Finance Association. In the Wilson review, it made mention of the bringing back knowledge transfer schemes, etc., for SMEs. I just wondered what your view was on using research to assist SMEs through those kind of funding schemes.
Well, I do get around British companies a lot. I try to get out to do field work, go around the country once every couple of weeks, and wherever I've encountered knowledge transfer graduates, if that's what the right word is, it was a very, very good scheme. We did get cut back and got caught up in the financial crisis, the cuts that followed from it. But I mean, what David Willits and I are both looking for is how to build that back up again. And we, certainly the perception in government when we look at it in a considered way was that the knowledge transfer partnerships were very effective.
Tom?
Tom Shuller from Longview. I wanted to ask a question about skills. There's an argument that says we are too preoccupied with the supply of skills and should be thinking more about the utilization of skills and therefore by implication the successful management of skills and qualified people. I wondered if you buy into that argument at all, and if so, what's the role of government in enabling management or pressing management to utilise qualified people better?
Well, I think we spend a lot of time thinking about the skills agenda, and it's something we haven't got right in the UK. In the university sector, by and large, that's got its challenges, is sort of world class, and it's got a lot going for it. But vocational skill training in the UK has been a bit of a disaster area in recent decades. I think what we sense is that we've sort of lurched between two extremes in the UK. One of them, putting it crudely, is putting a lot of money into the learners, particularly the FE colleges, and they churn people out, and there's a sort of vague hope that business finds them useful. The other approach, which has been tried from time to time, is that business people commission their own training. But then what happens is that you then get very fragmented standards which are not good marketable. What we're trying to do at the moment is to bridge those two approaches. We're trying to do it in several ways. We're trying to put more purchasing power for training, particularly apprenticeships, in the hands of employers, but doing it in a way that is directly linked to vocational standards, which are recognisable standards. We're also doing quite a lot of initiatives to try and raise the quality of apprenticeships, because although we're doing brilliantly well at generating big numbers, we've got 60% up in the last 2 years. Not all of them are high quality, many of them are very short term. Their contribution to the economy is perhaps questionable in some cases. So we're trying to find ways, partly by operating at higher levels of apprenticeships, partly by targeting at sectors and age groups as the highest social return, to make sure that public money is used better. So we do recognise that although we need, in aggregate sense, more skills, it's a big problem in the UK generally, it's got to be very, very carefully planned and managed in the ways that I'm describing.
Thanks, Vince.
I'm Wendy Falcone from the Charles Institute for Personal Development. It's actually quite a similar point to a question just asked, but there was an interesting point made earlier about the need for a new relationship between government and employers. My question is, does government have a role in promoting management, or is that something that employers need to do for themselves?
I didn't hear that myself.
Oh, sorry. My question is, does government have a distinct role in promoting management and leadership, or is this something that needs to be done organically within organisations? You've spoken a few times about the importance of management and making an economic case for good employment practice, and it's obviously a particularly interesting time at the moment when there's been such a focus on employment deregulation. And so I'm interested in the direction of travel in terms of the government promoting improving management policy in the future.
I didn't follow all of that, but I think I got the general drift of it. I mean, we're not, I'm not anyway, into kind of laissez-faire at all. I mean, I think we do recognise that government has a role to play. I mean, in a way what's happened is you go through these big historical cycles, and certainly in the 70s it reached a kind of apogee of enthusiasm for government intervening and planning and picking winners, as it's now pejoratively called. And there was a sort of very big reaction against it. Government retreated, shrugged its shoulders and said nothing to do with us, Gov. Business was just allowed to get on with things. And we've seen the disadvantages of that major strategic areas of the UK economy have just withered. We're now trying to get to what we think is a sensible middle point, which is what I now call industrial strategy. And that does involve letting markets operate, letting business make business decisions, but does recognise that there are big areas where government has a responsibility, and in areas like innovation, skill training, classic areas, because there are major externalities involved. And what we're trying to do at the moment is build up a sectoral approach. The classic area, one I inherited but works very well, is in relation to the automobile industry. We sit down, I chair a meeting every 3 months with all the top car companies in Britain and their big suppliers and some of the academics who are very knowledgeable about the industry. And we think ahead about their supply chains, what are the gaps that could be filled in, things that they can do as an industry as opposed to competing individual firms. And it's proved to be very, very productive, and it's creating an environment in which, as you've seen, GM are now willing to invest in the UK rather than Germany, and it's partly because they feel the environment is a good one. We do the same with aerospace. We've set up recently a Creative Industries Council, which has the same objectives in the service sector, where I chaired a meeting with Justine Greening a couple of weeks ago for the railway sector, which is expanding now very rapidly with big supply chains. We're doing the same thing for oil and gas and for the renewable energy supply chain as well. So that idea of government having a role, albeit not a sort of heavy-handed one, I think is now very firmly embedded.
One final question for the Secretary of State. Helen? Quick.
Extremely quick, not a question.
Okay.
That's all right. Carrie, if you'll allow me, Secretary of State, if I could, on behalf of a number of colleagues around me from the learning societies, Alan Perkins from the Society for Research and Higher Education, just go back to the question that you were asked about open access publishing, because it is very relevant today. You've been very kind enough to commend a lot of the work that's formed part of the publication today. and none of us involved in publishing research, which includes the commercial publishers, have any interest at all in impeding access to research. We are all in the business of wanting to disseminate it. We were fortunate enough to hear from Janet Finch herself through the auspices of the Academy last week about plans for her report. And it was very clear from that the position of the learned societies particularly really hasn't received due consideration. We were told that we should diversify our business plans, but of course many of us have charters going back to the 40s, 50s and 60s. We're charitable organisations, we cannot diversify beyond our charitable aims, and we all depend to a very significant extent, and in the last 5 years to a much greater extent than previously, on our publication income. And we might not be having this meeting in the future if we don't have the opportunity to have some more discussion, hopefully with someone like yourself, just to be able to discuss some of these things in more detail. So I'm not asking a question or presuming to put you in any way on the spot, but it is something that I would really much, and I know colleagues in the Learning Societies and the Academy would really like the opportunity to explore these in more detail. And if you could facilitate that at all, it would be greatly appreciated.
Remember that the report's not coming out, I think, in Finch report till tomorrow. So why don't we wait and see what happens in that?
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. I'm very happy to talk about it. I mean, I sense that there isn't such a big problem in many ways that researchers have found a way of operating. My son is a quantum physicist, a very kind of arcane area of natural science. He publishes and he basically just puts the stuff straight on an archive. So, you know, the thing is out there being criticised, being used without all the time lags that you have if you go through a traditional published journal. So, I mean, knowledge does get disseminated.
Indeed. I think the social sciences are in a particular situation because the physical and natural sciences have always had publication dissemination built into the funding, and that's not the case in social sciences.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, can we thank the Secretary of State?